Hello, welcome to episode 2 of Legendary Lunacy. If you're just joining us for the first time, welcome to the channel. I posted some stuff here a long time ago. I've unlisted most of it or privatized most of it. We're trying to do something new. As of right now, we're on episode 2 of our Halloween special. We're trying to do something every day of October. I've put off putting stuff on YouTube for a very long time because I wanted to make sure everything I put out was like perfect, and that just ends up creating more and more procrastination and doubt. And so we decided to just try and put up something every day of October and talk about something scary, spooky, horrifying, anything really. Yesterday we talked about some scary stories I wrote back in high school and college. Not my best work, obviously, but I enjoyed reading those and getting a look back on memory lane to see how my writing style has evolved. So it was nice to see that. Today's episode might be a little bit shorter. I'm starting a little bit later. Work today was a little rough, but we thought about a bunch of ideas. We had a really cool idea, which we're probably going to talk about later on this month, about superstitions and the origins of them. My girlfriend and I have a black cat, and we were thinking maybe we should talk about the superstitions, like where the bad luck of black cats came from, like where it originated, and stuff like that. But I wanted to do some more research on that. I want to make that one a little bit more in depth instead of just doing a random talk about it. And we'll probably go more in depth on a lot of these if any of these videos actually do end up getting pretty popular. I can always come back and talk about them more later. Like tonight, I think what I'm going to do is talk about one of my favorite video games, Left 4 Dead, which if you've never heard of that one before, definitely go check it out. My little brother got me hooked on it when we were younger. My brother and I used to fight a lot when we were younger, but one thing that we always had in common and always got along with was Left 4 Dead. It's a third-person shooter, I believe, is the term. No, it's a first-person shooter. Where you take on the role of different characters. There's 4 different characters in each game, and you go through different levels of movies or stories. Where basically what you do is your group of survivors has to go through levels and waves upon waves of zombies, killing them to get to safe rooms where you can save up, reload, get new med packs and everything, and go on from there. And the game, the first one was released, and it got so popular, it got a second game, it got lore behind it. It was actually a comic book that was released as well. I think it was four issues or so. Let me do a little look in here. There's the plot, gameplay, campaigns, and we'll talk more about this here in a sec. But no, it got very popular. Got very popular, and the second game actually does not involve the main storyline of the second game does not involve any of the characters from the first one, but it does add to the lore, and there is some DLC they added as well, which we'll talk about a little bit. At least one of the storylines that I do know and I've seen some playthrough of. Basically, in the first game, there are 4 characters. There's Bill, which is my usual go-to. He's an old, it looks like a Vietnam War vet, who's usually depicted as like one of the leaders of the group because he has like the skill and everything. And there's Francis, who's like the biker. That's the character my little brother always played as. There's Lewis, who is looks like an office worker, and I think they go in depth on other characters, and that is his backstory. He's just an office worker who got caught in the middle of the outbreak of zombies. And then Zoe, who I can't remember her background, but they each of the characters, whenever you see them in cutscenes and stuff, they seem to have like a particular weapon they like. Like Lewis likes the Uzi. Zoe usually has either the shotgun or just the handguns. Francis does the shotgun, and then Bill usually does the M16 assault rifle. But it was always really fun because it was one thing my little brother and I, whenever we used to fight and everything, we would argue about dumb stuff all day, whether it's from school and stuff or just having a rough day. But whenever we were having a bad day, one of us would just say, "Hey, you want to go kill some zombies?" And we'd go play Left 4 Dead, and immediately we were totally fine. We were cooperating, we were helping each other, we're saving each other, we're thinking of ways that we can, like, okay, well, you've got a med pack and that NPC has a med pack, and if my health gets too low, he'll heal me with his med pack, and you can save yours for when you need it. And it was really cool that this game kind of brought out the cooperation between me and my little brother when we didn't used to get along all that well. The second game has 4 characters as well, and that one takes place, I think, in more in like the southern states, whereas this one, well, let's just go over the levels in the first one real quick, and we'll go on to the second one. Um, in the first game, there are 4 movies. Oh well, if it'll tell me. I probably should have done a little bit more and more research before this, but I just wanted to talk today. The original campaigns are all divided into 5 levels, connecting by safe houses, checkpoints where the people can heal, rearm, and revive characters who are killed. Some levels are broken up into crescendo events, which introduce new obstacles before the survivor can continue moving. Those are always really rough. Like, occasionally you'll get to a place where it's like, oh no, the bridge is up, so you've got to press the button to lower the bridge. But when you do that, it's going to be loud enough, it's going to alert the zombies, and it'll bring all the zombies to your location, so you've got to press the button and run back to a hiding space and just kind of shoot as many zombies as you can. The first game has 4 campaigns. No Mercy it's where you're going through the opening credits show like a little movie where you see the characters interacting with each other and like how they all act together, and they end up on a rooftop in the middle of the city, and they hear a radio broadcast from a helicopter flying to a nearby hospital that says, get to the hospital within the next whatever and we'll save you. And so you run, like, you go through, the first level is from the rooftop down to the city streets, and then the second level in that movie is city streets to the sewers, and then the third is the sewers to something else, and it just goes on and on until you get to the end, the hospital, where like level 4 is you go through the levels of the hospital up to the rooftop, and then the last level is you just have to fortify that rooftop as you're waiting for the helicopter to come get you, and there's just zombies climbing up the side of the building. It's really freaky. Definitely a high adrenaline game. Like, it's it's a shoot 'em up zombie game, but it still gets your blood pumping sometimes. Now, the next level on there is Death Toll, which takes place in a small town in the countryside. I can't remember that one very well. Jake and I usually just played the No Mercy. Dead Air is kind of like the hospital one, but you're doing it at an airport instead. And then Blood Harvest is woodland and farming settings. But another thing about the game is there's not just regular zombies. I mean, there is just regular zombies. That's the main thing, is just wave after wave of regular zombies. But there's also specialty zombies. There's what's called the Smoker, which have the giant long tongues that they'll shoot out at you and wrap you up and try and drag you back to them, where they'll claw you up. But also, if they're up on top of, sometimes they'll be on rooftops, and they'll drag you up to like the side of the building, and you'll just dangle there, and your character starts to choke out, and your other people have to either shoot that guy or shoot the tongue to get you free. Those guys are annoying. What else? There's the Hunter, which is like they'll jump at you. They can jump really far, and when they land on you, they just claw you up. And if they're on you long enough, they'll just tear your health down to 0. There is the Boomers, which are big bloated zombies which spew bile on you, and it makes other zombies attracted to the bile. And if you shoot them and they blow up, then you get covered with the bile too, and it just causes a horde to attack you. And then the most vile of them all is the Tank. The tanks are just huge dudes that take a lot to kill, and they can pretty much one-hit KO you. Whenever you're in this game, if you get knocked down to 0 points, it drops you down to the ground and you lie prone with your handguns, and that's all you can use. And if your health depletes far enough while you're prone, you die. And then you're pretty much gone. Like, you can observe others, but then if they don't survive long enough, then the game is over. But if they do survive long enough, if they beat the horde that killed you and they keep going, eventually you'll pop up later on in the game and they can come save you from it, and you just lose some points and stuff. But there's little awards you can get, like Headhunter, who had the most headshots, who took the least amount of damage, who was the healer, who healed the most people, Protector, who protected the most people. There's lots of little things in the game that are like incentives. But the cool thing is at the very end of the chapters, whenever, or not chapters, at the very end of the movie, whenever you finish, like, so you finish No Mercy, you get some people on the helicopter and it takes off. It'll show credits for the game, and it says your player played so and so, and then all the other characters, and then it goes down through all the stats of the game. Like, this person used this many bombs, this person used this gun this many times, this person had this much accuracy with this percentage and everything. And it's really cool to see all the different stats that go into it. So that was a game that we played a lot. Oh, another special that is not as common, but was probably my little brother and I's favorite, is The Witch. It's a crying zombie that hides around, and if you shine your flashlight on her and you startle her, or you shoot her, or you bump into her, or anything, she goes into a rage and claws you with these giant, like, long fingers that are freaky, and she can immediately take you down. It's brutal. But so my brother and I used to, whenever you could hear her crying throughout the map, but you can't see her. Usually, very very quickly, you have to like hunt her down. So my brother and I called it the Salem. Is what we would do. Is we'd go out and we'd find the witch, and try and take her out. Because if you took down the witch, you got lots of XP and stuff like that. It was really fun. Then the second game. Let me see there. Left 4 Dead 2. Like I said, takes place in another part of the States, and there's zombies everywhere. And that one actually had some more stuff. Like, you could do campaigns, you could do verses. And I don't know if you could do it in the first game, but in the second game for sure, you could play as zombies. Like, you could do one person plays as the heroes, or the heroes, the survivors trying to fight their way through, and the other person plays as zombies, and you get to be specials, and they try and attack and kill and everything. It's really fun. The realism mode, I don't remember that one. Oh, I can't remember exactly how that one. I don't remember doing that one. So the infected, it has all the same ones: the boomer, the hunter, the tank, the smoker, the witch. Then there's also 3 new ones in Left 4 Dead 2. The charger, a male infected with an enormous right arm that charges into the survivors and bumps, like when it hits you, it runs you across the battlefield, grabs you with the giant arm, and slams you up and down until it gets killed, until you die or it dies. There's the spitter, which is a female infected that spits out balls of stomach acid that splatter across the area and can deplete your health really fast, as long as you're in the goo. She also leaves a puddle of goo upon her death. So kind of like the boomer. When the boomer dies, it blows up with the bile. When the spitter dies, it leaves acid. And then there's the jockey, a male infected that jumps onto the survivor's back and steers them around into groups of infected or into environmental hazards like the spitter goo, while clawing at the player's head and leaving the player incapacitated. Now, the characters in Left 4 Dead 2 there's Coach, who is a stocky high school football coach with a bad knee. He jokes about that throughout the entire game. It doesn't really affect the gameplay, though. It's just kind of like it's his animation style. There's Rochelle, a low-level production assistant for a local television station that was reporting on the pandemic. Then there was a pessimistic gambler and con artist named Nick, who wears like a white suit, and Ellis, a friendly and talkative redneck mechanic, who often talks about his friend Keith and their many misadventures during the apocalypse. Now, this game was really fun too, but my brother and I, whenever we used to play Left 4 Dead 1, I played Bill, he played Francis. In this game, we kind of argued over who got to be Ellis. And usually I would just admit defeat, and he could be Ellis, and I played Nick. I liked Nick as the character, too. He was kind of funny. But this game, I do remember I liked the levels more. Another thing that was cool about this game, in the first game you could do a machine gun. It was like either the Uzi, or if you found it later on, the M16, the shotgun, or the Spaz shotgun, or the handguns. Those were your weapons in the first game. It was really simple. And then there was pipe bombs, Molotov cocktails, med packs, and pills, which pills give you temporary health, which help when you're just trying to make it to the next checkpoint kind of thing. And all those, I think, stay for the second game as well. But the second game also introduces melee weapons. So with the first game, you could pick up two handguns. Like you could pick up another handgun and have dual wield handguns, which is cool. You can do that in the second game as well. You could also pick up a Desert Eagle, which is a more heavy fire round with a heavy firing round handgun with less ammunition. And the handguns never run out of ammo. You have to pick up ammo for your big guns, but the handguns never run out. Um, in the second game, you can also pick up swords, axes, baseball bats, crowbars, stuff like that, and it's really kind of fun. The chainsaw is also a weapon you can use, but it runs out of gas eventually. Um, there's also some more bonuses in the second game, like with the first game you had the pipe bombs, which beep and attract the zombies, or the Molotov cocktails, which there's those in this game as well. But there's also a vial of the spitter, like bile, the acid you can throw, or and the vial of boomer goo you can throw, which attracts zombies to it. And then, along with the med kit, you can also pick up defibrillator paddles. So if you have a player who dies in the middle of a fight and you defeat the horde, if you find the defibrillator, you can bring them back with a little bit of health. And if someone has a med kit, you can heal them back up, and it's a fun mechanic. But then there's also, along with the pills, which give you temporary health, there's an adrenaline shot, which you take and makes your character a little bit faster, gives them a boost of health for just a very short amount of time. But one thing my brother and I used to do with that one is we would, whenever you find the adrenaline, we would save those for like very dire circumstances and use those to get out of dodge, when we need to. Now the storylines in the second game are, let me see, story characters overview. It doesn't have divided up like the first one. I remember there is Dead Center, which takes place in a mall. And at the end of Dead Center, you have to find, like, you're in like this multi-level mall, and you have to find gas cans and fill up a display car with gas to take off out of the mall. That one was really tough. And all these movies in each game, like the first game, all the movies line up in a big long linear story that leads to the heroes getting away. Same with the second one. Dark Carnival was, I think, our favorite in the second one. You go through a whole carnival, like a state fair kind of thing. And the last level takes place is you have to set off a concert with all the fireworks and everything, which attracts a bunch of zombies, but it also attracts a helicopter to come save you. And that one's a pain in the ass. There's so many tanks and stuff that come in and try and kill you, and it's bizarre. And we got killed a lot. We died a lot in that game. Oh, and in the second game, there's also new kinds of normal zombies too. Like depending on where you're at, like at some locations, there's like hazmat zombies, which are like immune to the bile and stuff like that you throw at them. There's also riot gear zombies, which are immune to melee attacks and stuff. In the Dark Carnival, there's a witch that is dressed like a bride, because you have to fight your way through a wedding reception that was zombified. But there's one DLC, because there's a lot of DLC. These games got really popular. They're really fun to play, and just all the lore behind it. But with the comic books, they made a storyline because there was some, especially in the first game, it doesn't really talk about it a whole lot. But like they would talk about the explanation as to why, they got picked up by the helicarrier at the end of No Mercy, the first level of Left 4 Dead 1, and then the start of the next level is they're abandoned somewhere. It's like, can't believe that happened to us. So how did we get here? And it didn't really explain it a whole lot. So the comic books went into more detail. And so in the comic books, I remember, because I've read them at least once, the comic books talk about how after they're picked up by the helicopter in one level, they're taken to a facility where they're experimented on and tested on by some people, some like scientists and stuff. And it's revealed that the survivors, the main characters of the game, are actually another kind of special infected, where they just don't exhibit any symptoms of the virus, but they're contagious. So the people around them can catch the disease, if like they become a zombie, it like just leads to all kinds of mayhem. That's why they keep getting in trouble. And in the second game, that happens a lot. Like it's subtle nods. Like they don't come out and say, "Oh, we're infected too." It's Like they get picked up by a boat in one level in Left 4 Dead 2, and then at the start of the next level, it's like they're talking like, "Oh, can't believe that lady on the boat turned. I didn't even see her get bit. That was weird. Who knows what happened next?" And it was just really goofy, but really like interesting storytelling. Now, I've not played any of the DLC. I want to. I just haven't. But there's one. I believe it's the Sacrifice. Yeah. It takes place after the last level of the first Left 4 Dead game, and the storyline is kind of sad. From the end of Blood Harvest, the four survivors, Zoe, Lewis, Francis, and Bill, are rescued by the U.S. Army and taken to Millhaven, a well-fortified army base. They are immediately split up. Oh no! So this is where we find out. The four learn that they are carriers. They have the virus yet show no symptoms. Zoe herself is horrified to learn that her father, who requested her to kill him before he turned, had the carrier gene, meaning that his death could have been avoided. Ooh, that's sad. They describe to Lieutenant Mora how the infection is mutated to create special infected with unique abilities. Though Mora agrees with the survivors' reports, having seen the special infected herself, his superior, Everly, is highly skeptical and refuses to take steps to consider evacuating the base despite not receiving orders for the last 9 days. Eventually, Mora overthrows Everly and sounds the evac alarm, unintentionally drawing infected to the base, where the special infected able to breach the base's defenses. And I'm not going to do verbatim exactly everything out of this deal, but basically from what I remember in the comics, and it, like, if I remember right, the comic actually kind of gives you insight into what some of them are thinking, like the main characters are thinking through this whole thing, and it kind of focuses on Bill. And I remember when I was reading it when I was younger, I was like, it's like really cool. It's like my favorite character gets to be like the main character of the story. It's awesome, cool. And there's a reason for that, because at the very last bit of the storyline, they're fighting. They get to like a bridge, and you can, I think if I remember right, you can see the main characters from Left 4 Dead 2 on a boat that need to go through this river, but the bridge is blocking their way. And the characters jump across the bridge and are going to press a button to move the bridge up to let the new guys through and to separate the zombies from our heroes from the first game. And something happens, and the remote to open the bridge breaks. And then Bill, being the father of the group, kind of like the surrogate father figure to Zoe, and like the father figure, well, he's the father figure to all of them, jumps across the bridge and runs in and remotely activates the door. And when he does that, 3 tanks appear and knock him into the room, leaving him prone. Now, one thing you learn from the game is when someone is prone, they cannot get up on their own. There's nothing they can do. So, whoever's playing as Bill has to go and do that. I think in the game, you can, if you're playing another character, you can do it, but it always ends up being, storyline-wise, Bill does it. And so, Bill opens the door, the presses the button, it opens the bridge, which separates. The new characters from the second game can drive on through and go on to their mission or whatever they're going to the second game. And Zoe and Francis and Lewis have to sit there and watch as the tanks try and break into the room that Bill is lying prone. And he has a bit of dialogue, and you can see from his point of view, he's looking at the doorway as the 3 tanks are trying to get in. And since they're huge tanks, they can't get in, but they're like trying to tear down the doors. And in the comics, I think he pulls out a cigarette and just says this is kind of like the way he would have wanted to go. And as he smokes his last cigarette, his health bar, and he dies. And I remember reading that and going, well, damn it. It was such an awesome way to go out, like the heroic sacrifice. But man, I did not expect for it to hit me as hard as it did. It was brutal. It was so sad. Now, there is another DLC that I've not read a whole lot about, but it's a DLC for Left 4 Dead 2, in which the Left 4 Dead 2 people have to go back by that bridge, and you can go and you can find Bill's body. He's still there. and I've not played it. Like, I've not played the Sacrifice, but damn, what a DLC to have, right? Really just elevates the game, in my opinion. Um, no, there's a lot of times like we played this game when I was younger, and to be fair, we got pretty good there for a while. But one thing I do remember from playing with my little brother a lot in this game was that we would get into our characters' mindsets. Like, we'd say the catchphrases they have and stuff. And uh, after reading that comic and playing with my little brother a lot, I just ended up being the guy who tried to save the NPCs all the time. And the NPCs are kind of stupid. they really, I mean, the reason they do the things they do is they're trying to save the player characters. Like, they'll do a lot of times they'll go out of their way to try and save a player character who's down, which is really cool. But I remember there was one time we were playing on the No Mercy, where my brother had hopped into the helicopter and I was almost to the helicopter, and we had one NPC that was dead, and one NPC, I think it was Zoe, she was running towards us and she got hit by a tank and was knocked prone. And my brother was like, "Come on, get in the helicopter! Come on, we need to get out of here!" And I jumped from the little platform. Instead of into the helicopter, I jumped down and revived her. And by the time she got up and I turned, I was hit by a tank and was hit off the building. And she, instead of running to jump in, ran after me and jumped off the building. And I was like, dude, you just made the sacrifice for nothing. Because that was another really funny thing, is the video game, if a player dies in the final level, and the title screen goes, so like, when that happened, after I died and Zoe died, the game ended, and Jake, my little brother, got away. He survived. And it starts the scroll for the end, and it says something, and it says, "This game is dedicated in memory to those who died," and has both the NPCs' names, and then has me on there. And that was always really cool how they would do that. Like, if a player character or an NPC died in the final level, it would show them on there. But then the really, my favorite stat was always at the very last thing, as it scrolls through all the stats, like who used what bombs and what guns and da-da-da-da-da. The very last stat was always the number of zombies killed in the game, in that run-through, were killed in the making of this movie, which was always just really fun. My brother and I always tried to get the most, and I think the most we ever got was like, I think it was like 2,000 or something. It was ridiculous, but it was just really fun. But no, so we just got to a point where we got really good at playing the game, that we were like, well, let's see if we can save these dumb NPCs. And they did not make it easy. But yeah, so that is Left 4 Dead. And the reason I wanted to talk about it tonight is my little brother came over for the first time in a while. And we watched some YouTube videos for a little bit, and then we played a little bit of Left 4 Dead. And our skills did not hold up. We sucked. We got killed a lot. We did not do well. But it was fun. We had a lot of fun with it. And I think that's probably where I'm going to end it tonight. I know this video was a little less organized than last night's, which, I mean, last night's was not very organized anyways. But yeah, I had a fun time tonight, and I had fun. You know, a trip down memory lane with my little brother. A game we used to kick ass at, and now it kicks our ass. But yeah, c'est la vie. That's part of life. That is my cat. My cat, Astoria. She is loud and whiny. We let her out and then let her in. Then let her out, then let her in. You doing okay? Not having enough attention? Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and call it a night then. If you stuck around this long, thank you for listening to my rambling about a video game that is... How old is this video game? Oh my god, 2008. Hang on, let me do my math in my head. I'm not an idiot, I promise. 15. Right? Yeah, 15. It's 15 years old. Be 15 years old on the 18th of November. Wow. Is it bad that it took me that long to do that math? I don't know. But thank you so much for watching. If you like this content, please leave a comment. If you didn't like this content, I'm going to go ahead and I'll put a comment in the comment section with a dislike button, like to use as the dislike button, because YouTube decided not to keep the dislike button public. But I want people to be able to dislike my videos if they don't like them. Like I said, we're going to try to do a video at least once a day all month of October, just talking about everything spooky, scary, anything Halloween-esque, Halloween adjacent. And hopefully, once we get this month done, maybe we can start doing some more intricate stuff, some more stuff we've put a lot more work into, more time and more effort. I've got lots of scripts. At some point this month, we're gonna have to do a makeup tutorial. My girlfriend does stage makeup, movie makeup, and stuff like that. She's very talented, and I really want her to show off her skills, what she can do, and I think you guys will like it a lot. So thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you guys next time, tomorrow. That's it. Enjoy the darkness around you. Isn't that what I said last night? Embrace the darkness around you. I said something morbid or cool, or I don't know. It was something. I said something yesterday. That's the end. Okay, we're done.